Hello, Thunder Wizards. So, I want to talk to you about the Arudha Lagna. I've had some changes in my thoughts about some minor things, but I think I want to do a whole series on the Arudha Lagna. And, listen, my thoughts will probably continue to change, but I'm just going to give you my musings. Um, you know, First, let's talk about what the Arudha Lagna is. By the way, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the bell button so that you can be notified whenever I've uploaded a video or when I'm doing the live question and answers. And if you're interested in an astrology reading, you can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Because if none of this makes any sense to you, or if you want to find out what your Arudha Lagna is, go there and either myself or one of my apprentices can help you with that. Okay, so the Arudha Lagna. So first, we need to know what the word Arudha means. It refers to the reflection, the Maya, the illusion. And Lagna means that which has been screwed into place. So your first house in Vedic astrology is your ascendant. So before we go any further, you have to know that I'm talking about Vedic astrology. Vedic astrology is the astrology of East India. It has a lot of similarities. In fact, it's based on the same root knowledge as Western astrology. And I won't go into it, but Vedic astrology and Western astrology, well, I will go into it, but not a whole lot. Vedic astrology and Western astrology both come from a root astrological science that came from what is now Afghanistan. It was then called Bactria, and there was a city-state, and these people worshipped the stars, and they came up with the 12 houses and the 12 signs and the 7 planets and the 2 nodes of the moon, and so they started that part of the science. 2,000 years ago, wise men from Greece and wise men from India both traveled to this city-state to learn their knowledge, and then they went back to their respective countries. Western astrology is what the Greeks brought back, and Vedic astrology is what the East Indians brought back. Now, within that, there's, astrology isn't just one science. Even among, Western astrologers, there's 2 zodiacs. There's the tropical zodiac and the sidereal zodiac, and even Western astrologers know that. But for whatever reason, and I have some thoughts about that, which I'll do a video on, Western astrologers decided to use the tropical zodiac and focus solely on that. And they also made the decision to do charts from the sun sign. So bear in mind, when you're doing a chart, you can do a chart with the ascendant as the first house, which is what Vedic astrology does. Or you can use the moon. That's also like number 2. Vedic will use the moon as an ascendant. And then you can use the sun as the first house. But you can use any house as the first house. It means, the lagna means the vantage point. So the ascendant is what we use in Vedic. So your sign in Vedic astrology isn't going to be where your sun is. It's going to be where your rising sign or your ascendant. Now that causes a lot of problems because what happened 2,000 years ago is the sidereal zodiac, which is the earth relative to the sky above it, and the tropical zodiac, which is what Western astrology uses, was the earth relative to the sun. Now, 2,000 years ago, those 2 were identical, so it didn't matter. You could flip from the sidereal zodiac to the tropical zodiac, and you would be seeing the same star constellations and all of that. And you could do your calculations from that. But the sidereal zodiac has stayed the same, but the tropical zodiac continues to move because it was back then Aries was whatever. I won't get into that. But every 72 years or something like that, the tropical zodiac goes away from the sidereal zodiac by 1 degree. So we're, I think, 24 degrees off. So when you're looking at your sun sign chart, you can't look at it as those are the stars that are hitting you, because they're not hitting you anymore. When you're born now and you look at your tropical zodiac chart, it's a completely different take. And I'm not saying it's wrong or right or anything like that, but if you're looking at it to see how this planet hits you when you're born, you're going to be off. So your ascendant is going to be different. Your sun sign oftentimes will be different. Sometimes it's the same, but that's because it's still in the same house, but it's still going to be 24 degrees off. So in Vedic astrology, we use the ascendant as your lagna. Lagna means screwed into place. And it comes from the same root word as lug nut. Interestingly enough, I'm not making that up, that's true. The word lug in lug nut means to screw into place. And lagna means screwed into place. Means that when you were born, when you popped out, you were screwed into place in terms of your vantage point. This is the best way to look at it. So people who use the sun as their first house, they are using the soul as the vantage point. So if you want to look at your astrology from the sun sign as the sun in your first house, then you are looking at your life from the vantage point of your soul, which is going to be totally different from the vantage point of your personality. The lagna is your external personality, your eyes, where your physical eyes are looking out onto your life, what it sees. So I'm born with my ascendant as a Leo. So that means I see the world from the Leo perspective. And that means all of the houses. So each one of the houses has its own reflection onto the first house. Your physical body. The ascendant is your physical body. It's your face. It's your external identity in the world. It is how you interface with your life, because from the lagna you see how your karmas are going to affect your life. Specifically from the lagna, you get to see, from the ascendant, you get to see the things that you have control over, which is why it's a very powerful way to look at your chart. You're looking at it from, here's how you can impact your life. You can change your life. When you look at it from the moon, this is going to be your experience of the things that you can't change. So when you use the moon sign as your first house, which many astrologers do, especially Vedic astrologers, will do a chart just from the moon. In fact, that's what they did before they adopted. And actually, they had their own form of astrology, and then they took the Bactrian astrology and pasted it on top of it. But from the moon is how life happens to you. The things you feel like you can't control, what just happens in your life. So if you want to look at the chart in different ways, you can. The main thing, the first thing you want to do is you want to look at it from the ascendant, from the lagna, how you are screwed into place, your vantage point on your life. All right, so what is the Arudha Lagna? The reflection from your lagna. That means when you're looking out through the binoculars of your ascendant, it's your experience. This is what I'm seeing as I'm looking through my ascendant. You feel this, you feel that, right? That's not what other people experience. Your Arudha is how other people experience you. So you can do a chart from your Arudha Lagna. You can use your Arudha as the first house. And that will tell you the life of your reflection. The reflection is important because when you walk into a room, people don't see you as you see yourself. As you're looking out through your eyeballs, you have this experience of, I'm feeling this, I'm this kind of a person, I'm that, here's what I want, here's how people see me. And that's your own internal narcissistic monologue. They have a completely different experience. They see the light that bounces off of you. You walk into the room, boom, they see this reflection. When you go to the museum to look at a painting, you want to look at a Van Gogh, you stand back and look at it, especially if it's a big painting. You're going to stand back and you don't walk up to it and go, because if you walk up to it, you're going to see all the flakes and you don't see anything. You just see like this weird blob of you don't know what the hell you're looking at. You have to see the reflection. The light has to hit the painting, which is why they put lights on the painting, so that light will hit the painting, bounces off, and then those light waves hit your eyes, which goes into your brain, and your brain creates a picture which doesn't exist. Your brain is creating an illusion. There is nothing. If you try and walk through that painting into, whatever it is, the Last Supper or something, you're not going to magically walk into a scene with Jesus and the 12 disciples. You're going to bump into a painting. It's an illusion. There's nothing there. This is true about your Aruta, but it is how people see you. They have to see you this way. It is their karma and your karma. The universe has said, listen, you're here to do a job. You have your own personal experience, the things you need to accomplish. But listen, we need to give a certain light to the world. And it's my belief that this has a much deeper connection, perhaps to things that you've accomplished in past lives, things that you're unconsciously aware. We might even say that the Aruta is the unconscious projection, what you unconsciously project to people, based on past life and based on all kinds of other things. So that's the main thing that you need to know about the Aruta, is that you don't have to worry about it. Don't try and explain yourself to people. This is a big mistake that people make. People make a big mistake in that they want, here's something that people say all the time. I just want people to love me for who I am. That's never going to happen. They don't know who you are. They only know what they see. They know what you do, and they know what they feel about you. That's it. So get over yourself. That's narcissism. People are going to love you based on their experience of you and what you do for them. Your Aruta is the first thing. It's actually something that you give to them. So, in my case, you've heard me talk about it. I'll talk about it again. My Aruta is Mars in the third house in Libra. So that's what all this. By the way, somebody said, start wearing your hammer again. So I've got a new hammer. I don't know if you can see it. It's got this cool little green stone in it, but unfortunately it looked a lot better in the pictures, and for some reason it just looks like this black thing. Anyway, here's this cool, I think it's Unakite. So now I'm wearing my thing, but I'm wearing all of my regalia. I'm wearing my sleeveless shirt. I'm shaved my head this morning. I've got my necklaces on. I'm Mr. Tough Guy. Hey guys, look at me, big tough guy. Third house, Mars in the third house in Libra. Libra is the sign of balance, of equal exchange of energy. It's the sign of the mediator. It's the sign of a peaceful, somebody who brings balance. So I'm the warrior who brings protection and balance. And the Venus is a spiritual sign. So that's what all this is about. This is how people want to see me. This is not how I see myself. I see myself totally differently. But this is how people want to see me. And I struggled with it for years. I tried to hide it. I had an older brother who was a bully, used to, physically and mentally just beat the crap out of me. So I hated bullies, and I never wanted to be imposing. And I knew that I had the ability to be imposing and intimidating, especially if I'm not in a good mood. So I went out of my way not to be that way, and I ended up looking like a serial killer. People would get the hell out of my way, and it really messed me up until my astrologer explained to me what my Aruta was. And he says, you need to go and present yourself that way. If you do that, people will pay you money. And the moment that I did, my business went through the roof. And on top of that, I started then finding out exactly what the placement of my Mars was, what the star constellation underneath that, what the planet was that's trying to come in underneath that through my Mars, what it represents, what is the third. And then I started saying, well, I'm going to do exactly what that says. And that took off as well. And that was weird because here I'm doing it right now. I'm sitting here just babbling, free form, whatever comes into my mind, I'm saying it on the video. And that seems like such a waste of time. I don't know why you people watch it, but you do, and you love it. And the more I do it, the more money I make. So, okay, fine. It's not about me, it's about you. Your Aruda is about other people. So this is about if you want to be successful in life, you have got to know what your reflection is and you have to present it. This is a play. We are in a play. It's an illusion. The whole thing is an illusion for your soul to enjoy itself. And your soul wants to pretend. It wants to pretend to be whatever it is. The martyr, the king, the warrior, the lover. It wants to play a part. Your brain doesn't know that your soul is laughing the whole time going, wow, that's really intense. You watch a tragedy on Netflix. You're watching a tragedy, you're crying, oh my God, this is a horrible thing. Oh my God, she's being tortured. It's horrible. Look at him, Thor's, whatever it is. You're watching something and you're being entertained, even if you're crying or scared. People go to horror movies to get scared. They know it's not real. Your soul knows this isn't real. Your brain doesn't know that. Your emotions don't know that. Your nervous system doesn't know it's not real. But your soul knows it's not real. So the more that you can see this whole illusion as, as a play that has a real purpose. Maybe you don't know what that purpose is, the better off you're going to be in life. And don't take yourself so seriously and take risks and go have fun and do whatever. Here I am wearing this moonstone because that's a whole other thing. I'm wearing my moonstone around my neck. I know this was made to be a woman's necklace. I don't care. I just don't, I don't take myself seriously anymore. This is how people want to see me, how I can best heal people with my presence. There you go. That's how I'm going to do it. So I said there were some changes. So I'm going to tell you what the changes. By the way, before we go any further, again, astrology.thunderwizard.com. If you want to find out what your Aruta is, I put a lot of energy into teaching people about what their Aruda is. So go there, get a reading, astrology.thunderwizard.com. So the changes. Now, for those of you who are my astrology certified apprentices, if you go to astrology.thunderwizard.com, you're going to see a bunch of people, not just me. You're going to see a bunch of people with their pretty faces on there, and you can click on them and you can get a reading from them, and you'll save a bunch of money, by the way. Some of them have sales going on. So what was I going to say? So if you go there, you can get a reading from them and find out what your Aruda is. I completely lost what I was talking about. Anyway. Changes. So for those of you who are my certified astrologers, as you know, there are some rules to the Aruta. Those of you who aren't familiar with Vedic astrology, you're not going to know what I'm talking about, and don't try and figure it out. Please don't send me, if you don't know how to calculate things in Vedic astrology, please don't send me so mine is in the this and the that, and you're giving me your Western sign, and you don't know what the hell. What does that mean? What does the 7 mean? Does that mean the 7th house? Or please, go get a reading from somebody who knows, or go and take my course, which I'll share with you right now. We have a 2-for-1 special going on. For the month of May, you can get Vedic astrology certification, and you can get nope, that's not what I want. You can get Vedic astrology certification, and you can get rune reading certifications for half off. So normally to get each one of them, you would have to buy them separately. You want to become a rune reader and get certified and be on the rune, rune readings.thunderwizard.com and all that kind of stuff. You would have to get certified. If you want to be an astrology, a Thunder Wizard Vedic astrologer, you would have to get an astrology certification. So you can look and see how much each one of them is separately. But right now, for the month of May only, because I'm getting ready to go to Australia, I am giving half off, which means I will give you 2 certifications, one for astrology and one for rune reading, and you'll pay just for one. That's just for the month of May. So go there and enjoy that. All right, so back to the Aruda. So here are the changes that I'm making about that. not the changes I'm making, the differences that I'm starting to see. So as you know, if you read the what they call the Vedic scriptures, which is the ancient writings of Vedic astrology, they talk about the Arudha. They will say that there are some exceptions. So the way the Arudha is that your first house, which is your ascendant, your first house has its own reflection, which is what people see. In other words, when light hits you and bounces off of you, it creates a different reflection, and they experience something else. So that is somewhere in your chart. So the Lord of the first house, so for mine, Leo, the Lord of the sign of Leo is the sun. My sun is in the second house. So to find out what the reflection of my Arudha is, you go to the second house from the second house. The second house from the second house is the third house. In case you're confused and you think it's the fourth house, no, you have to count from the sign first. So from the first house to the second is the second house. From the second house to the third house is the second from the second. Right? So that's my reflection. Now, there's some rules that say that if the Arudha lands in the first house or the seventh house, you can't use those because you can't be a reflection of yourself. You have to reflect off of something. And so they logically concluded that if it's in the first house, then the natural reflection of the first house is the 10th house. The 10th house is called the house of your career, but that's not necessarily true anymore. That was a long time ago. Because 1,000 years ago, you were what you did. That's why we have last names like Smith. Somebody who worked with metal was a smith. So-and-so the Smith. John the Smith. And that's why Smith was such a common name, because every single village had a smith. So there's just millions of Smiths everywhere. Doesn't mean you're related. It means that that's what you were known for. Cooper, a guy who makes barrels, is a cooper. A baker, a guy who who's so and so? Oh, the baker. Oh, the guy the guy who cooks the bread. Yeah, the baker, John the baker. Mine was Danish. So people knew my ancestors as, oh yeah, the Danish guy, because he was a Viking or descended from a Viking or culturally a Viking. And he was in some English town, and they would say, yeah, so-and-so, Thor. Thor who? Thor, the Danish guy. Oh, Thor Denny. Yeah, that guy. That's the 10th house. That's what you are seen as. That's your fame. It's not necessarily what you do. But in the case of if your Arudha falls on your first house, for instance, let's say I'm a Leo, if my sun was in the 7th house, I would take the 7th from the 7th and it would go back to the first house. Well, you can't be a reflection of yourself. It doesn't work like that. So then you go to the natural reflection, which is the 10th house, the house of your fame. But they also say that your 7th house can't be the Arudha of the first house. And so if it lands in the 7th house, if your Arudha lands in the 7th house, then what ends up happening is they say, well, we have to go to the 10th house from that, which would be the 4th house. Now, if you take my astrology certification, that's what I teach, because that's what's in the Vedic scriptures about astrology. And so I teach that. But I've always personally bumped into this weird sensation when I do that something didn't feel right. So any of you who've gotten a reading from me, or especially any of my apprentices, if your Arudha naturally falls in the 7th house, I gave it to you in the 4th house. And the reason why they would do that is because they say the 7th house is already the reflection of the 1st house. The 1st house is you. The 7th house is your spouse, or literally the people in your life. So even, so it's your relationships with people, even, at work, just how you relate to the public. So your reflection can't be the other. It has to be something else. What I found is that if the 7th house is your Arudha, I've actually found that can work really well. And I'm not the only one. People have brought it to my attention, that, hey, so and so says, other teachers say that they don't use that rule. So I respect the ancients, and up until now, I've said, well, that's okay for them. I'm going to respect the tradition as it's laid out. But my experience is the same: is that people whose Aruda falls in the seventh house, more and more I'm seeing that is actually their Aruda. I still hold on to the first one. Your Aruda can't be your first house. It can't, because that would mean everybody's looking at you through your eyes, and you're not looking at yourself. You're looking at everything else. So that's impossible. So in that case, it would be the 10th house, like I said. So please apply that astrology certificatees. And again, if you want to be a Vedic astrologer from what I teach, let me tell you how I teach astrology. I'm using to prop up my computer, but I've got books this thick. Just one of them. I've got, I don't know, 3 of them, and they're all just super thick books. Astrology, Vedic astrology especially, is an incredibly deep and complicated science. And what happens most of the time when you go for a Vedic reading, any astrology reading, is people want to get something really superficial. Tell me, should this week, what day should I, go to the store? And, what's the best day for me to start my new business? And, this month, what's going to happen with my money and my marriage? And, it's the same kind of crap I used to take when I would take, psychic calls. It's just they ask the most ridiculously nonsense. It's just like, oh, just get on with your life already, please. But there's nothing wrong with that. Transits, what's happening with a transit, sometimes that's important. You can predict all kinds of things, but for me, I would just get so lost in all of that because I'm not a very mathematical, my brain doesn't work mathematically. I look at things holographically, and I want to look deep into things. My motivation was, give me something that I can use right now, which will benefit my whole life. Give me a tool that no matter 5 years from now or 10 years from now or 20 years from now, I want to have one technique which will work for me all the time. And so that's what I really started looking at. The Aruda is one. The Aruda completely revolutionized my business. And what was told to me, I think, was understated, which is that the Aruda is essential for your success in your career and in your personal life. I've gone so far as I study as deep as I can into my Aruda, and as I said, I do exactly what it is. I not only present myself that way, I do exactly what it says my Aruda is. And the more that I do that, no matter how weird or stupid or embarrassing it is, the more money I make. So that's why I teach it. It works. I teach things like I will teach you the 3 planets that are associated with your conscious mind, your subconscious, and your unconscious mind. It will let you know what you can consciously connect to, which will help you in your daily life, and what planet you need and deities associated with that planet that you need to work with in order to find out your true purpose in life and to become more conscious and take control of the things that are controlling you. There's a planet that wants to help you with money, and so you can worship a deity, do mantras to deities of a particular planet. See, here's the thing about mantra. Even Vedic teachers, even gurus, I could name some off the top of my head, who give mantras and they don't know what the hell they're doing. Because every single mantra, every single seed sound has an association with a planet. And so if in your chart, let's say, for me, Mars is my go-to planet. And I can tell there's a bunch of reasons why. But Mars is just like, if in doubt, worship Mars. Do a Mars mantra and a Mars ritual. For me, going to the gym and lifting weights, practicing martial arts, shaving my head, that is part of, I'm connecting to Mars, because Mars is like he is holding me together and giving me strength and giving me success and giving me the ability to weather through difficulties. Mars may be the worst planet in the world for you. If you worship Mars, it might destroy your marriage, make you poor, not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that there are lessons in there that you'll learn that'll be very challenging. So people throw out these mantras not knowing what are the planets associated with them. You know, every people want to worship Kali. Well, you better know what the hell you're doing. Kali is Saturn, karma. You worship Kali, you better have a good relationship with Saturn, and Saturn may, in your chart, better be looking to make you rich and happy. Because in your chart, Saturn might be saying, hey, listen, man, you're going to have to deal with this problem now. Oh, you want my help? All right, here's all the crap you got to deal with. So I give you a mantra that is finely tuned just for you based on your chart. And my experience is everybody I've given a mantra to, every single time they go, oh my God, I feel the moment I chanted it, I feel it. And, my life is changing. Sometimes, just really the life goes better. Sometimes they go through some challenges, but it's, the planet is going there and cleaning up their house, So, astrology.thunderwizard.com if you want to get a reading. Astrology certification and rune certification, you can see how much you charge for that. 2for1.thunderwizard.com, you can get 2 for 1. So I'm going to do more talking about the Arudha. I may do a whole series on, first off, in which house the Arudha is and what it's doing for you. And then I'll go into, this will be a much longer one, but I'll go into different planets and different conjunctions and different houses. I don't know, that might be too much work. I might not want to do all that kind of work, but in any case, there's that. I just wanted to talk about that today. So that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys later.